Wouldn't it be great if you could ask your data anything at any time? Like, how are sales this quarter? How's the new marketing campaign performing? What does the overall health of the company look like? And actually get answers right away with charts and graphics and actionable information. You can with Domo's AI and data products platform. Domo lets you channel AI and data quickly, securely, and innovatively to deliver measurable insights wherever and whenever you need them. Anyone on your team can use Domo to easily prepare, analyze, visualize, automate, and distribute data, all amplified by AI. Domo goes beyond productivity. It's designed to transform your processes, helping you make smarter and faster decisions and drive real growth. All powered by Domo's trust, flexibility, and years of expertise in data and AI innovation. The world's best companies rely on Domo to make smarter decisions. See how Domo can help transform yours. Learn more at ai.domo.com. That's ai.domo.com.
The Agile Brand.
Welcome to Season 6 of the Agile Brand, where we discuss marketing technology and customer experience trends, insights, and ideas with enterprise and technology platform leaders. We focus on the people, processes, data, and platforms that make brands successful, scalable, customer-focused, and sustainable. This is what makes an Agile brand. I'm your host, Greg Kihlstrom, advising Fortune 1000 brands on MarTech, marketing operations, and CX, best-selling author and speaker. The Agile Brand podcast is brought to you by TechSystems, an industry leader in full-stack technology services, talent services, and real-world application. For more information, go to teksystems.com. Before we get started, I wanted to let you know that my latest book, Priority is Action: 7 Principles for Better Strategies, Decisions, and Outcomes, is now available. In it, I give ideas and insights for leaders and teams that need to make meaningful progress on their priorities. After all, our priorities are what we do, not what we say we'd like to do. You can find Priority is Action on Amazon or learn more on my website, gregkihlstrom.com. Now let's get on to the show. Today we're going to talk about the impact of AI on chief marketing officers, as well as personalization and how, with the help of AI, it might finally be the year of personalization. To help me discuss this topic, I'd like to welcome Amanda Cole, CMO at Bloomreach, as well as an executive board member at the MACH Alliance. Amanda, welcome to the show.
Hi, Greg. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, looking forward to talking about this topic with you. Why don't we get started with you giving a little background on yourself, your role at Bloomreach, and for those that may be a little less familiar, a little bit about what Bloomreach does for its customers.
Sure. So I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at Bloomreach. I have been in marketing for a little over 20 years and have been all throughout B2B, but very much stayed in the B2B SaaS space. And what's been awesome about Bloomreach is that we sell to both B2C and B2B companies. So I've gotten a lot of exposure into the e-commerce world with Bloomreach, and our entire goal at Bloomreach is to make online shopping personal. I think we've all experienced as consumers just very bland, disconnected experiences that don't speak to who we are, even after we've bought multiple products from a company. And so Bloomreach wants to help consumers and brands build better digital relationships with personal shopping.
Great. Yeah, definitely. Definitely still a challenge, even in 2024, is that disconnect between, well, you should know what I bought, right? And
Yes.
And also I know we're going to explore some of that today as well. But let's get started by talking about how marketers, and with a specific focus on marketing leaders and CMOs in particular, how they need to think about how artificial intelligence or AI will impact both their roles as well as how their teams work. So, first question here, how do you see AI impacting the role of the CMO in the next 12 to 18 months? Obviously, lots of change in the last 12 to 18 months, but how do you see that impacting their roles moving forward? And, what skills or competencies will be particularly important for success?
Yeah, I think what OpenAI has done geniusly is they made AI accessible. So AI obviously has been around. Artificial intelligence has been around for a really long time. I think there's even some jokes about machine learning going to existing pretty much when the computer came out, technically.
Right.
So I think that that the phenomenon of AI isn't new. It's really that OpenAI has made it accessible and understandable and relatable to people who aren't even technical. And so all of a sudden, somebody who doesn't even understand how databases are built or algorithms or any of those things, they have a conversation with ChatGPT. They have this great experience, and so it gets the wheels turning of all the ways in which they could use AI and ChatGPT and other LLMs to change how they operate their businesses. And when I say people, I'm primarily talking about C-suite and board members. And so we're seeing a tremendous amount of pressure from business leaders coming down to the CMO and other C-suite leaders saying, I don't want to think about problems in terms of fixing problems in terms of people or new technology. I want to really think about it in terms of scale. How do we take what we've been doing and make it significantly more scalable and accessible? Because there's this really cool tool called ChatGPT that's made
Right.
it super obvious how easy this is to do now. So if they can do it, why can't we do it? And I think that pressure coupled with a basic lack of understanding really of what Gen AI is going to mean for our businesses outside of this very simple use case that ChatGPT has given us is creating a lot of frustration and lack of understanding and not even really knowing how to answer what's next for the next 12 to 18 months. And that's where we see a lot of our customers and also my network existing right now.
Yeah, yeah. What about some of the old things that need to let go? So, you talked about some of the new ways and embracing new ways of thinking, or being open to new ways of thinking at the very least. But,
Mm.
what about the old behaviors? Like, are CMOs going to have to let go of some of those?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've been another word. I mean, maybe we should have turned this podcast into a drinking game because we're talking about AI personalization, and now I'm going to say the next one, attribution. But
Right.
we've been talking about these trends for such a long time, and I mean, every CMO that I talk to when we talk about attribution, kind of roll your eyes because it really is. It depends on who you're talking to and what their definition is, and are we doing the U-shaped or W, or are we doing last touch?
Right.
And there's a million different ways for us to try to understand the for example in this case the ROI of marketing spend. And so you that is absolutely one of the things that we start talking about. Gen AI is going to completely transform our ability to build out intelligent attribution models and help primarily CFOs have a better understanding of what the return on marketing spend is. But if you think about the juxtaposition of that with what the chief marketing officer actually has needed to build from a data perspective in order to make sure that Gen AI does arrive at the appropriate conclusion when it takes all of the associated account and contact data in order to now theoretically build this perfect, easy Gen AI report for a CFO, the CMO is all of a sudden going to be stuck with whatever those results are because it's going to foundationally use data that has been built on an old system and an old view of the world when we look at what attribution models have been today. So I think that there's this big transformation element of like the art of the possible and starting to rebuild and transform your systems to eventually provide answers in what that future reality looks like.
Yeah, and to follow on the point about data, and this is perhaps a little bit of a leading question, even, but how would you, obviously, to get good results, it depends on the data that garbage in, garbage out, so to
Mm.
speak. But how would you describe that relationship between those marketers getting what they need, as you just described, but and the quality of data that they're working with? Like, what do they need to be keeping in mind?
Yeah, I think marketers have done a tremendous job capturing data for years. I think it's been really a limitation of the systems that help us understand the dense amount of information that we capture and actually turn it into something that matters from an insight perspective. So on the B2B side, we to work an opportunity that goes to a salesperson, we probably have 20 or 30 contacts that are associated to that opportunity. And when you think about the number of touch points, and it could take us 6 months to close a deal. When you think about all of the tracking that happens across 20 to 30 contacts inside of an opportunity across 6 months, all the events, all the sales calls, all the emails, all of the paid ads, the social media campaigns, all the things they interact and engage with, that data marketing captures. But it's been really difficult for us to say what mattered, what made a difference, what
Yeah.
investments worked, what campaign, topics, titles. And so we've really gotten to a place where we have data and we can tell any story we want with it. I mean, that's obviously another joke that we talk about. Data will tell any story you want it to.
Right,
But
right.
we really are not deriving revenue-based insights from this information. And so I think that is where where we're really going to need to start spending our time. What do we want to tell AI? What inferences do we want it to understand from all the data that we have? And so being really intentional about building your models and building your insights from the AI in order to tell that ultimate story, I think that's where a lot of time and effort is going to need to be spent.
Yeah, and so, to follow maybe one part of that as well, not everybody needs to become a data scientist, right? And to the way that a lot of products and solutions are moving, it's definitely like a low code, no code kind of approach, which and the terms to throw out another buzzword bingo term here, citizen data scientists and all are going to have more access to tools to be able to do this, but there's still kind of some level that CMOs need to ensure that their teams kind of
Mhm.
understand the technology being used, so some technical proficiency, but also some of the other implications. I mean, there certainly are, there's bias and ethical implications and compliance depending on your industry, and there's also just culturally aligning with values and principles. As AI, lots of great potential opportunities, but also some potential challenges as well. So how does a CMO take all of that and make sure their teams are focusing and doing the right things?
Yeah, easy question.
Right. Sorry, that was a big one, but yeah.
Yeah, so I think when we're talking about the values and principles of your company and how you actually are infusing things like scaling with AI and keeping those models at least trained on that is a big ask, and that is something that you're going to have to do in partnership with your technology companies. And that is why we see the most common use case for AI today being internally focused. So it's certainly not at a point yet where we see mass application of it pointed out towards the customer, where there hasn't been a lot of time to really learn and train and understand, again, hallucinations, as you mentioned. What is the potential brand implication of a bad experience with AI? It's still really bad. A consumer is not going to
Right.
give you a pass because, oh, that was probably AI that did that. They still are holding the brand or the company accountable.
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, we see a lot of internally focused use cases where you are teaching and training, partnering with your IT team to make sure that the tools that you're using align with your corporate values. And then it is a little bit of a test and learn approach. And I don't think that we're going to fast track our way out of that. I think that will still be something we're very much focused on for the next couple of years.
Wouldn't it be great if you could ask your data anything at any time? Like, how are sales this quarter? How's the new marketing campaign performing? What does the overall health of the company look like? And actually get answers right away with charts and graphics and actionable information. You can with Domo's AI and data products platform. Domo lets you channel AI and data quickly, securely, and innovatively to deliver measurable insights wherever and whenever you need them. Anyone on your team can use Domo to easily prepare, analyze, visualize, automate, and distribute data, all amplified by AI. Domo goes beyond productivity. It's designed to transform your processes, helping you make smarter and faster decisions and drive real growth. All powered by Domo's trust, flexibility, and years of expertise in data and AI innovation. The world's best companies rely on Domo to make smarter decisions. See how Domo can help transform yours. Learn more at ai.domo.com. That's ai.domo.com.
So certainly there's been a fair amount of learning so far from organizations as they've adopted AI. There's still plenty more to learn, of course, and to your point, there's going to be plenty of opportunities to learn and grow from both doing the right and the wrong things in some cases. But as it stands now, what are some common themes or misconceptions that CMOs can try to avoid from the beginning? How can a CMO avoid some of these pitfalls?
Yeah, I think the I would say the most common one is that somebody's going to figure it out and I'm going to give them time to figure it out. And then once I understand what technology or tools or what's trending, then I'm going to be able to use it and it will be able to fix my business challenges. And that's just not true. I mean, AI has to be trained.
Yeah.
And in order for AI to work for your business, it has to be trained on your vertical, on your data, on your customers, on your brand. So jump in. Do not wait. Do not expect that there is going to be a very clear winner that solves the same business issue every single time, because you've got to actually implement and try and test and figure it out on your own ecosystem in order to really, really understand what's going to help solve the unique challenges that you have as a business. So that would be the one. Do not hang back, like get involved and start testing it.
Yeah, and so one of those things certainly is to use AI to better understand customers, and customers are, their preferences are changing and their relationship may grow with a brand, or grow or diminish over time, so on and so forth. How do you see, as it stands now, how do you see AI helping marketers to better understand their customers? And is are there any risks that you see in maybe too much reliance right now on AI for customer understanding?
Yeah, I think the wonderful thing about marketers is this great combination of data and analytics and insights along with gut. And so I think what AI is absolutely going to power is crunching a tremendous amount of data much more quickly and helping surface or at least give directional insight into some of the areas that the brand or the marketers may need to invest in. So instead of a marketer now spending 3 to 4 weeks trying to read through reports and understand and build inference, the AI can do a lot of that work a lot faster. But
Yeah.
then actually taking that and turning it into business strategy and objectives that will transform their ability to actually deliver, that's where I think we're going to see this great combination of human and machine. And I'm very excited to see how much that will fast track businesses' ability to understand their customer and ultimately create much better experiences for their customers.
Yeah, yeah. So switching gears a little bit, the next topic I wanted to talk about is around personalization. We mentioned it a little bit already, but anybody like myself that's been in the industry for let's just say a few years, we've been talking about personalization for decades now,
Ever.
right? And yeah, yeah,
Yes.
exactly. And it's always like around the corner where it's going to get super like one to one omni-channel, and we've been talking about all this stuff for decades. And I finally feel like we've got this convergence of big data, again, another buzzword from a decade or more ago.
Mhm.
We've been collecting all this data, to your earlier point. Now we've got some of these AI like testing tools have matured a lot. We've got AI that's able to do a lot more sophisticated thing. I feel like, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves too much in 2024 here, but I feel like this year and maybe next year are really a time where personalization can really shine and be done in a way that it simply hasn't been able to be done on the scale that all of us, marketers have been dreaming about for a while. So want to talk about this a little bit more. And first, like, again, we've lived through some of the challenges that personalization creates, like scaling issues,
Mhm.
content creation, required and all that. So, how do you see AI helping marketers be more effective, be more sustainable in the way that they're personalizing things, and ultimately create personalization that resonates with their audiences?
Yeah, I mean that is absolutely right. I mean, personalization has been a topic for as long as I've been in marketing, and it's because it makes sense. I mean, we're relational as human beings. We we store data ourselves. I learn things about you and your background and where you worked and the last podcast that you've done and what is interesting to you, so that the next time I meet you, our conversation doesn't start from the first time that we met, but I have a catalog of information and that helps inform the next discussion that we've had. And so as human beings, we have this relational expectation that as I engage and interact with you and you learn more about me, our conversations become deeper and deeper, or I choose not to talk to you anymore because
Right.
I didn't enjoy it last time. And so even though we realize that a digital experience is not the same as a human connection, we're still very relational and have that expectation. And that's why personalization has been, it's just made sense for so long, because we want to know that as we are spending time, effort, and energy to engage with a brand, that it learns more about us and is able to deepen its relationship with us as time goes on. But technologically, it's not that simple. And in order to have a data structure that you're able to actually access and then take that data and connect it to every single channel, offline and online, that your consumer is experiencing with you as a brand, and every single person in your company that they're engaging with, so that if I do buy something online and I have a chat with a support agent, or I go into store to return something and that store associate has some context, or in the B2B world, the SDR that I talk to and the sales rep that I talk to and the marketing person I meet at an event all have the same context of my relationship with you as a brand, that has been impossible. And I do believe that Gen AI is unlocking a tremendous amount of forward momentum in the ability to access this deep database and surface it very quickly in a way that we can create those scalable one-on-one personalized conversations that takes the history across every touch point of that customer with a brand or a company. But ultimately, where a lot of companies are going to fail is it's not just the access to the data. You now also have to surface this data at every touch point in the customer journey. And so I think that we'll continue to see workflow management, omni-channel systems, and those things become much, much more important in how you really can create personalization.
Yeah, and so much like, this can help when used correctly, and as you were describing, this can help the end customer have a better experience and more relevant content, and so on and so forth. Does this does a more AI based approach, and with better data and everything, does that help? Does it give marketers different and better metrics, beyond like vanity metrics and stuff like that? Or, what's the impact on their ability to measure and optimize impact?
Yeah, I absolutely think it will. I mean, ultimately, the reason we do A/B testing, the reason we do optimization, the reason we do CRO, all these things is because we want to we want to make micro improvements on segments.
Yeah.
So we want 20% of our best fit audience to get 0.5% better in conversion. And we believe ultimately at the end of the day that that will link to a next better conversion metric. And ultimately, hopefully we all have more revenue. And I think what Gen AI and personalization in particular will help us do is measure improvement on an audience of one. So I can now say, am I if I'm looking at experiences holistically, are each of my customers receiving a better experience as measured by their engagement with my brand? And I do think that Gen AI is going to help us do that at scale. So rather than looking at segmented audiences and micro improvements on a segment, we can actually look at individual customer experiences and improvements in each individual experience. And I'm really excited for when that is a reality.
Yeah, yeah, I know. And we're here talking about, how we've been talking about personalization for quite a while, and the reality has not quite lived up to the promise so far, and yet we're on the cusp here. But to take it a step further, kind of similar to, with ChatGPT and other generative AI things making content creation a lot easier. Now I think we're seeing a lot more content being created, and of, sometimes of dubious quality, and but there's more of it because it's easier to make. Are As personalization becomes a lot easier to do over the coming months and years, is there going to be such a thing as too much personalization? And if so, what exactly might that mean? And what would a CMO, what should a CMO be thinking about, as far as, is there too much of a good thing, in other words? Or, what are your thoughts there?
I do not think when it comes to personalization, I do not think there is such a thing as too much personalization. I do think there is a thing of using data that was not provided to you by the customer in order to do personalization. And that's where I think the line can get crossed. I mean, these relationships need to be built again in the same way that I was talking about human relationships. If I knew personal information about you that you had never shared with me, that would be a very bad experience. So it wouldn't help that I was personalizing the conversation. You would probably be concerned that I was stalking you. So
Right.
there is a concern about the use of data that was not provided by the consumer to a brand. And so that's where really having a solid understanding of your preference center, making sure that you're being intentional with your consumers about the kind of information you're asking them for and what you're going to use it for. Most consumers, I believe the recent stat was 76% of consumers want a brand to use information that they've provided them to customize, personalize their experience. So being transparent and again, not taking the easy way, which is finding a provider that will use Gen AI to get data that they were not provided access to personalize an experience. That's where I think the gray line is. But if a consumer or an individual has directly provided you information, use that information to create a better experience, a more personalized, tailored experience to them so that your relationship only deepens as a result.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think it's a great distinction to make there. So yeah, great. Well, Amanda, thanks so much for joining. One last question before we wrap up, and maybe even just kind of a recap here. But you've given a lot of great advice and insights already. But what's one next best action that you'd recommend for those listening that you know they're liking the talk about personalization and the timing is right, but what's a step that they can take to improve their personalization efforts today?
I mean, luckily, I think that what Gen AI has not done is change the number one priority for marketers, which is our customer.
Yeah.
And so do not lose sight of your customer. Do not lose sight of the individual, the companies, the problems that you're trying to solve on the B2B side or the ultimate needs, desires, wants of the individual on the consumer side. Keep your customer as your North Star and realize that Gen AI and the next technology that probably will change our lives
Right.
this year or next
Right.
year, that those are only tools to help you create a better experience.
That's great advice. Well, again, I'd like to thank Amanda Cole, CMO at Bloomreach, for joining the show. You can learn more about Amanda and Bloomreach by following the links in the show notes. Thanks again for listening to the Agile Brand, brought to you by Tech Systems. If you enjoyed the show, please take a minute to subscribe and leave us a rating so that others can find the show more easily. You can access more episodes of the show at www.gregkillstrom.com. That's GregKihlstrom.com. While you're there, check out my series of best-selling Agile Brand guides, covering a wide variety of marketing technology topics, or you can search for Greg Kihlstrom on Amazon. The Agile Brand is produced by Missing Link, a Latina-owned, strategy-driven, creatively fueled production co-op. From ideation to creation, they craft human connections through intelligent, engaging, and informative content. Until next time, stay agile.
The Agile Brand.